My coffee mug slips from my fingers and shatters against the kitchen tile, sending ceramic shards skittering across the floor. I barely notice. My eyes remain fixed on my phone thumb, scrolling through image after image of smiling faces gathered in my aunt's sunlit backyard. 34 guests. I count them methodically, as if the number might somehow change if I try again. I'm Sierra Coleman, 32 years old, and I discovered through a cascade of smiling photos on social media that my entire family had gathered for my cousin Haley's bridal shower, everyone except me. If you were standing in my shoes right then staring at those images on a quiet Saturday morning, would you swallow the hurt or pick up the phone and demand answers? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to know how you'd handle that first raw punch. Cousins I haven't seen in years, my mother's sorority roommate, even great-uncle Ellis who needs a cane to shuffle around, everyone except me. The bridal shower photos show tables draped in cream-colored linens, floral centerpieces in Haley's favorite peach and sage champagne flutes, raised in countless toasts. A celebration meticulously planned weeks, maybe months, in advance. A celebration I never knew existed until this moment. The sting is sharper, because just last month I sent Haley a handwritten congratulations card with pressed wildflowers from my balcony planters. I'd even offered to help design her wedding materials, invitations programs, whatever she needed free of charge, a gift from one cousin to another. My Denver condo suddenly feels cold, despite spring sunshine streaming through the windows. The light that warmed me minutes ago now feels harsh, exposing. I realize in that moment I wasn't just forgotten. I was deliberately erased. I sink onto a kitchen stool, memories washing over me like a tide I can't escape. Last Thanksgiving flashes before me. Aunt Carol's voice carrying across the dining room as she praised Haley's recent promotion at the bank, vice president at 29. She'd announced, beaming at my younger cousin, always knew she'd make something of herself. Then, Aunt Carol's gaze had shifted to me, her smile thinning. Sierra still doing that little hobby of hers, the logos and whatnot. That little hobby that paid for this condo. That little hobby that built a client list including mid-size brands across Colorado. My parents had sat silently nodding along while relatives positioned Haley as the golden one right in front of me. Even when I'd mentioned the down payment on my condo, $190,000 I'd saved over 7 years, the conversation had quickly pivoted back to Haley's engagement ring. My hands tremble as I pick up my phone again. I pull up my mother's contact information and press call before I can talk myself out of it. She answers on the 4th ring. Sierra, is everything all right? Her voice holds that familiar note of concern tinged with judgment, as if she's already decided whatever I'm calling about is an overreaction. There was a bridal shower for Haley yesterday. My voice comes out steadier than I expected. Everyone was there? Why wasn't I invited? A weighted pause stretches between us, then a sigh. Oh, that. Well, Carol thinks you always make everything about yourself. Haley deserves her special day. The accusation lands like a slap. Make everything about myself? When have I ever? Please don't start, Sierra. This is exactly what we wanted to avoid. Your cousin deserves to be celebrated without drama. I stand up straighter, suddenly aware that my shoulders have been hunched forward, my body instinctively making itself smaller. So I'm drama now. That's what you all think of me. It's not personal, Sierra. Not personal. The same words my mother uses whenever she wants to dismiss my feelings. My free hand stops trembling. A strange calm settles over me as I realize this isn't a misunderstanding. This was deliberate, planned, discussed. I'm going to call Aunt Carol. Sierra, don't. My mother's voice rises with alarm, but I've already ended the call. I find Aunt Carol's number and dial, surprised by my own steadiness. When her voice comes through clipped and impatient, I don't bother with pleasantries. Why wasn't I invited to Haley's bridal shower? A pause. Then I was wondering when you'd call. No apology, No excuse, just cold acknowledgement. You shouldn't be there. Haley deserves a day that's just hers. Just hers. As if my presence would somehow diminish my cousin's happiness. As if I'm a shadow that might darken her spotlight. I'm her cousin. Her only cousin. The words feel hollow even as I say them. Blood relation clearly means nothing. Listen, Sierra. Aunt Carol's voice hardens. We've all discussed this. The wedding plans too. I suggest you don't make this into something bigger than it needs to be. Some relationships in this family are already strained. The threat isn't subtle. Push back, and what little connection I still have with my family might vanish entirely. I stand at my kitchen window staring at the city spread out below and suddenly understand with perfect clarity. My family values appearances over genuine connection. They always have. I hang up without saying goodbye, the silence in my apartment no longer oppressive but clarifying. A magpie lands on my balcony, railing its black and white feathers stark against the gray spring sky. It watches me for a moment before flying away, and I find myself wondering what it might be like to be that free. It's the crisp autumn of my 22nd year in the cookie-cutter suburbs of Denver, where the streets curve like forgotten promises, and every lawn is manicured to match the neighbor's envy, and I'm already perfecting the skill of becoming invisible at the family table. The dining room in Mom and Dad's ranch-style house glows under the chandelier's warm halo, the air thick with the savory bite of sage stuffing and the sweet undercurrent of pumpkin pie baking in the oven. Thanksgiving, that annual ritual Mom Linda orchestrates with the precision of a wedding planner, complete with heirloom china, passed down from grandma and linen napkins folded into precise fans. The table groans under the weight of it all, golden turkey carved tableside by Dad's steady hand, bowls of creamed corn glistening like forbidden jewels, and a crystal pitcher of iced tea sweating rings onto the oak surface. 15 of us crammed around it this year, extra folding chairs dragged from the garage knees bumping under the too small space. Aunt Carol reigns from the head, her laugh a polished blade, while Haley, barely 19 and home from her first semester at business school, perches beside her like a favored heir, eyes bright, with the kind of confidence that turns heads. Haley, spill it. How's that finance club treating you? Aunt Carol leans in her pearl necklace, swinging like a pendulum voice booming over the clatter of silverware. I heard you're leading the investment simulations already. At 19, you'll have Wall Street begging by graduation. Haley flushes, waving it off with a tinkling laugh that draws chuckles from the aunts. It's just group projects, Aunt Carol. But yeah, we're managing a mock portfolio up 15% last quarter. The prof says I've got a knack for spotting trends. The table erupts in a wave of approval, Uncle Tom slapping his knee so hard his water glass tips. Trends. That's instinct, girl. Banks eat that up. Steady climb to the top. You'll be VP before 25 easy. Mom beams from her seat, ladling gravy with a flourish. She's always had the head for numbers. Remember her lemonade stand at 10. Balance the books better than I do. Nods cascade like dominoes. Great Aunt Ruth piping up from her end with a wheezy, Mark. My words, she'll own the firm someday. The energy hums electric and inclusive, every face turned toward Haley like sunflowers chasing dawn. I'm tucked at the far corner, 22, and nursing a lukewarm roll. My own plate, a forgotten landscape of half-eaten sides. Fresh out of community college with a certificate in graphic design, I've been scraping by on entry-level gigs, tweaking flyers for local cafes, my laptop a constant companion on the bus rides home. The savings jar in my childhood bedroom holds a measly $2,000 so far, a slow drip from odd jobs, but it's mine earned without a safety net. Tonight, though, I feel like the extra leaf in the table, necessary for space but easily folded away. The spotlight grazes me eventually, as it must in the awkward lulls. Aunt Carol's eyes flick over her fork midway to her mouth. And Sierra still, doodling those pretty pictures. It's phrased like interest, but her smile doesn't reach a polite detour before the main road. I straighten a fraction, heart kicking like a startled deer. Yeah, picking up some freelance. Just finished a logo for a neighborhood bookstore, clean lines, modern font. It's small, but it pays the bills. I keep my voice even laced with that rehearsed optimism Mom drills into me for networking. She nods vaguely, already turning back. Charming. A nice diversion. Haley's interning at the bank next summer, real exposure. Mom chimes in smoothly. Keeps Sierra creative, you know how she is. Diversion. Creative. The words settle like dust, my contribution dissolving into the steam rising from the turkey platter. Uncle Tom grunts a non-committal. Good for you, eyes already drifting to Haley's next anecdote about stock picks. The meal drags on, laughter swelling around her like a tide pulling everyone under, while I bob on the surface unseen. By my mid-20s, the pattern hardens into habit. Haley's promotions toasted with champagne flutes, my first five-figure contract mentioned in passing as that side hustle. The condo down payment, $190,000, after 7 years of skipped lattes and double shifts, earns a tepid starter spot, dear from Mom, during the walk-through, her gaze lingering on the compact galley kitchen, as if measuring its inadequacy against Haley's gleaming high-rise lease. Flashbacks layer like varnished teen summers where Haley's debate trophies lined the mantel while my sketchbooks gathered dust in the attic. Early 20s brunches where her scholarship announcements drowned out my first client testimonial. Each time I'd swallow the lump, redouble the hustle nights blurring into dawn with Adobe open fingers cramping over the mouse, proving my worth in pixels they'd never pixelate. But as the pie slices circulate, that Thanksgiving crust flaking golden onto plates, a low simmer stirs in my gut. Not blaze, but coal glow, anger at the script they've cast me in the reliable shadow to her star. I've chased their nod, stacked achievements like cordwood, yet the table always tilts her way. Driving home later, suburbs blurring to blacktop under sodium lamps, the realization crystallizes cold as mountain frost. I've done everything to be seen, but in their eyes, I've never quite measured up. 3 days after the bridal shower photos seared into my brain, I'm hunched over my drafting table in the dim glow of my Denver condo kitchen, the late-night hush broken only by the hum of the fridge and the scratch of my pencil against paper. It's past midnight, the city lights twinkling like distant campfires through the window, mocking my isolation. I've been sketching mood boards for a client's rebrand, clean lines, earthy tones, to drown out the echo of Mom's voice. Not personal, but focus fractures. My phone pings a group chat notification, slicing the quiet like a knife through fog. I glance at it absently, expecting a work thread or Marina checking in. Instead, it's from Aunt Carol's family loop, the one I'd been quietly removed from months ago or so, I thought. The message loads, remember to pick up those peonies for Haley's rehearsal dinner next week. Good thing we didn't invite Sierra, less drama all around. My pencil snaps and my grip leads, splintering across the page like fractured trust. The words blur for a second, breath catching in my throat, but I swipe back Haley's thumbs up emoji, Mom's casual, "Ha, true enough." Then, poof, the chat whooshes, message deleted as if it never stained the screen. But I'd seen it. Heart-hammering, fingers numb, I thumb the screenshot button just in time, the image freezing the betrayal in pixels, their casual cruelty coordinated and confirmed. This wasn't a slip, a hurried omission in the invite list. It was premeditated, a family verdict whispered in side chats while I pored over designs in good faith. Rage coils hot in my chest, mingling with the old ache of invisibility, but beneath it something sharper stirs, clarity cold as a winter draft off the Rockies. I don't sleep that night. By dawn, the screenshot burns a hole in my phone gallery, and I drive to Mom and Dad's suburban bungalow, the 2-lane highway blurring past in a haze of taillights. She answers the door in her robe, hair, tousled surprise flickering before settling into that familiar wariness. "Sierra, it's barely 8. Come in, I'll put on coffee." The living room smells of last night's lasagna family photos lining the mantel like a hall of fame. Haley front and center in cap and gown, her VP promotion plaque gleaming beside Mom's wedding portrait. I stay standing, phone clutched like a talisman. Mom, I got this last night. I thrust the screen under her nose, the chat frozen in incriminating clarity. Her eyes widen, then narrow, color draining from her cheeks. That was private. A joke, really. You weren't supposed to see it or exist in it at all. My voice cracks, but I press on, the words tumbling like freed stones. You all decided I'm drama, so you cut me out. Even the flowers for her wedding, I'm supposed to bring those but not show my face. She sinks onto the sofa, smoothing her robe with trembling hands, avoidance etched in every crease. We thought it best, Sierra. The whole family agreed. Haley's day should be seamless, no complications. And we've been helping with your property taxes, remember? Don't make this harder than it needs to be. Threat veiled as concern, the old lever pulled gratitude as a gag. I laugh, bitter and short. Helping or holding, you rewrite me as the problem to keep the peace. She looks away, fiddling with a throw pillow, silent, stretching taut as the unspoken truth they'd all nodded along, erasing me to polish her pedestal. The doorbell chimes, then sharp as a verdict. Marina, my best friend, since art school, bearing a paper bag from our favorite Thai spot, and a bottle of Cabernet. She breezes in, reads the room in a glance, and pulls me into the kitchen before Mom can protest. Talk, she says, unpacking pad thai with efficient grace, her dark curls tied back like she's prepping for battle. I spill it all, the screenshot, the call to Aunt Carol yesterday, her icy, you know why? Stay out Mom's half admissions. Marina listens, chopsticks poised, then sets them down with a click. Classic gaslighting, Sierra. They're flipping the script, you're the jealous one, the disruptor, so their exclusion feels justified. But look at this proof. It's their mess, not yours. Her words land like ballast, steadying the storm. We eat in companionable quiet, the spicy noodles grounding me, her presence, a reminder that blood isn't the only bond that holds. By the time she leaves, hugging me fierce at the door, you're not drama, you're dynamite. I've pulled out a leather journal from my bag, its pages crisp and waiting. I date the first entry, April 15th. Screenshot attached. Conversations transcribed verbatim. Witnesses none, but the evidence speaks. Alone again, balcony doors cracked. To let in the spring breeze, I sit cross-legged on the floor, pen flying. Every slight cataloged, the pivots at dinners, the deleted invites, the tax help as leverage. Pain ebbs into purpose, tears drying on my cheeks as resolve hardens. If I stay silent, they'll rewrite my entire story, cast me as the villain in Haley's fairy tale. But with this ledger line by line, I'll claim the narrative. My version. The one where I rise uninvited but unbreakable. 3 months after the bridal shower, Snub sliced me open. I'm out on my Denver condo balcony as dusk paints the skyline in bruised purples and golds. The city's hum, a distant lullaby below. The air carries a hint of impending fall, crisp edges to the breeze off the Rockies, and for the first time in weeks, it doesn't feel like a shroud. Inside, the journal lies open on the coffee table, pages thick with my scrawled timeline of slights, the screenshot, the canceled contracts, worth $27,000 quarterly, Mom's last voicemail, laced with that weary, let it go, Sierra, family is all we have. But tonight, with a glass of chilled Sauvignon sweating in my hand, the weight lifts just a fraction, courtesy of Marina's unannounced drop-in. She arrives like a force of nature, tote bag slung over her shoulder, clinking with takeout containers from our go-to Vietnamese spot, fresh spring rolls and pho that steams up the sliding doors. Enough moping in your pixel cave, she declares, kicking off her boots and sprawling on the Adirondack chair, her no-nonsense bob framing eyes that see straight through my facade. We've been thick as thieves since design school, her photography balancing my graphics like yin to yang, and she's the only one who calls the family poison by name. You've got the proof. The loss is now what? Wait for them to rewrite you as the villain forever. I sip the wine tart on my tongue and shake my head. The old fear coiling Aunt Carol's whispers already twisting my freelance woes into karma for jealousy clients ghosting after one too many golf course murmurs. What else I can't crash Haley's wedding that's $120,000 of their perfect narrative, and fighting it'd just feed the drama label. The words hang heavy loss etching lines around my mouth that weren't there last spring. Marina leans forward, elbows on knees, her voice dropping to that conspiratorial timbre that's pulled me from more than one deadline ditch. Screw waiting. Build your own damn celebration. Not a revenge party, something real. Invite the people who show up for you, no strings. Make it yours. Her eyes spark painting the picture. A small gathering, laughter, unscripted toasts to the woman I've forged from 7 years of scrimping for that $190,000 down payment. No golden child pedestal, just me, flaws, fonts, and all. The idea lodges like a seed in cracked soil, tentative, but insistent. Before I can overthink, my phone buzzes Julian, my boyfriend of 8 months. His voice warm as the Santa Barbara sun he's chasing for a freelance shoot. Hey love, wrap up that logo, hell. I've got space on the crew. Come down for the weekend. The villa's got ocean views that'll reset your soul. Julian's the steady one, a videographer with a quiet laugh, and hands that know how to frame beauty without forcing it. Our first date was a sunset hike in the foothills, him capturing wild iris while I sketched their veins. He doesn't pry about the family fallout, just listens when the journal spills out, then counters with plans, picnics, playlists, promises of normalcy. By morning, I'm packed, sketchpad, laptop, a flicker of hope, and the drive to the airport feels like shedding skin. Santa Barbara greets me with salt air and eucalyptus shade, Julian's pickup rumbling up the coastal road to his rented villa, a whitewashed stucco perched on cliffs where waves crash like applause. We unload in the golden hour light slanting through arched windows onto terracotta floors, the Pacific stretching endless blue beyond. Your canvas, he says, handing me a chilled rosé, his fingers lingering on mine. That evening, as the sun dips low, gilding the infinity pool in liquid amber, I crack open my laptop on the villa's weathered teak table. Fonts dance across the screen, elegant scripts paired with clean sans serifs, testing pairings for invitations that whisper intimacy over extravagance. Mood board next sage greens and peach blooms pinned digitally evoking Haley's palette, but twisted through my lens wilder rooted in balcony columbines, not hothouse perfection. Julian peers over my shoulder, chin on my head. That one bold but breathable, like you. His words coax a smile, the first genuine one in weeks, soft as the fading light on our skin. We brainstorm into twilight, 18 guests, max hand-pressed botanicals for place cards, a playlist of indie folk that sways like the palms outside. Fear nips at the edges. What if Carol spins this as sabotage? Mom's sighs turning to silences, but Marina's voice echoes from a group text. Chosen family fills the gaps. Blood leaves empty. Julian nods, cueing up a track pulling me to dance on the flagstone terrace, bare feet cool against stone. In his arms, the void shrinks, not erased but edged with possibility. Later, alone with the laptop's glow as waves murmur below, I trace the date on the mock-up, mid-May, far from Haley's June fanfare. This isn't spite, it's suture. I whisper it to the screen, voice steady in the salt-laced dark. This isn't a reaction anymore. This is my real life. Early spring in Aspen, the air sharp with pine and melting snowmelt trickling from the maroon bells, and I'm knee-deep in the villa's sun-warmed living room surrounded by swatches of linen and half-unrolled butcher paper pinned to the walls like a war room for joy. It's been weeks since Santa Barbara's salt-kissed epiphany, and the plans have bloomed like the first crocuses pushing through frost. My own intimate gathering, 18 souls strong, no more than that, to keep the circle tight as a mountain pass. Julian's villa perches on a hillside overlooking a glassy lake that mirrors the aspen's tender green, the kind of place where light shifts hourly, turning stone fireplaces golden at dusk. We've commandeered the great room, my drafting table commandeered the leather ottoman strewn with hand-pressed prints of native wildflowers, columbine blues and lupine purples inked with quotes from Mary Oliver that whisper wild geese over champagne toasts. Spotify hums low in the background, a curated playlist of Bon Iver and Fleet Foxes harmonies weaving through the space like threads in a loom. Marina's on speaker from Denver, her voice crackling with excitement as she scrolls our group chat. Thomas is on wine, says he'll source that Pinot from the western slope. No sulfites pairs with your sage-roasted menu. And Gianna's all in for florals. Local market peonies. Nothing shipped tied with twine from her studio scraps. Laughter bubbles up as replies ping in emojis of cheers and wreaths. Promises stacking like kindling Isla for photography, capturing the lake's ripple at Vow's edge. Cousin Rachel slipping in a quiet, "Count me in, tell the others I'm driving solo." No blood ties required, just the chosen ones who've texted at 2 a.m. when the journal overflowed, who showed up with Pia Ho when the world narrowed to a pinhole. I feel it then. The shift, a quiet power surging through my veins as I pin a final mood board, amber glassware glinting against linen-draped tables, the playlist fading into acoustic swells for the sunset exchange. Logistics hum under Julian's steady hand. He's spreadsheet king, mapping carpool routes from Denver and shuttle times from the airport. His brow furrowed in that endearing concentration over coffee mugs chipped from too many late-night edits. 18's perfect, he murmurs, glancing up from his laptop, his hand finding mine across the chaos. Intimate, not isolated. Your vision, my backup. Empowered doesn't cover it. It's like gripping the wheel after years as passenger, the road unspooling toward peaks I choose. The bubble bursts mid-afternoon, my phone vibrating insistent against the oak console. It's a text from Mom forwarded from Aunt Carol Haley's date-shifted venue snag at the resort. Now May 15th, Grand Monarch Ballroom. Everyone's looped in. Except you, of course. But word's out about your little soiree same day, bold Sierra, stealing her thunder. The words land like sleet chill seeping through the villa's warmth. Bold. Stealing. As if my sketches, my salvaged joy, were daggers aimed at her $120,000 extravaganza. The group chat erupts seconds later, relatives piling on Cousin Mark's "Why divide us now?" Mom's sighing emoji chain. Aunt Carol's curt families choose sides. Think twice. How hung sours to a knot in my gut. The wildflower prints suddenly fragile under my fingers. Trung lap cotine, her reschedule a quiet sabotage, forcing forks in the road they've always paved. Julian pauses his typing, reading my face like a script. Them I nod, passing the phone, the screen glowing accusatory in the slanting light. He scrolls, jaw tightening, then sets it down, deliberate. Coincidence or checkmate? Marina chimes in from the chat, her reply a photobomb. Villa Sunset Lake, ablaze in peach and gold, captioned blocked. Here's real thunder. Who's in pings? Follow Thomas's thumbs up. Gianna's hard eyes are circle tightening against the storm. The challenge stings, a test of the boundaries I've only just drawn, but as the playlist swells to a hopeful chorus, resolve steals my spine. I meet Julian's eyes across the table, voice low but unyielding. The date stays. I won't shift my happiness to suit their script. 1 week before the villa gathering back in my Denver condo, as rain lashes the windows like accusations, I'm arranging the leather portfolio on the coffee table, its pages crisp with watercolor sketches of amber-hued menus and sage-tide favors when the doorbell cuts through the storm's low roar. It's them, Mom Linda clutching her sensible raincoat like a shield, and Aunt Carol umbrella snapping shut with a crack that echoes her impatience. They breeze past my hesitant come in, dripping onto the entry rug eyes, sweeping the living room like inspectors at a crime scene. The space feels smaller with them in it, exposed brick walls closing in my drafting lamp, casting long shadows over the mock-ups pinned to the corkboard. Julian's out scouting florals in Aspen, but his presence lingers in the framed photo from Santa Barbara Yus on the terrace, arms-linked sunset gilding our smiles. Mom's gaze snags there, softening a beat before hardening again. "Sierra, we need to talk," Mom says, perching on the sofa's edge, hands twisting her purse strap. Aunt Carol doesn't sit paces instead, heels clicking like a metronome of judgment. This has to stop. The invitations, the posts. It's dividing everyone. Haley's rescheduled for the 15th Grand Monarch Full Affair. You can come to the reception evening only. Quietly. But cancel yours. Think of the optics. Optics. The word twists like a knife in an old wound. Their narrative laid bare my joy as collateral in her spotlight. Tension coils in my chest, breath shallow as the rains patter, but I stay rooted by the table fingers grazing the portfolio's embossed cover. Optics for who? The family that erased me first, Aunt Carol, wheels on me, face flushed under her perfect bob. Erased, dramatic as ever. We protected Haley's day from your sensitivities. And now this stunt. Same date, it's sabotage plain. Her wedding's real. $120,000. 200 guests, orchestra, and all. Yours. A backyard pity party with play pretend designs. Her laugh rings hollow eyes, flicking dismissively over the sketch's hand-lettered vows in flowing script botanical illustrations blooming across place cards. Heat rises, but it's not the old frantic blaze. It's controlled, a forge fire tempering steel. I flip open the portfolio pages, whispering like vindication. Pretend these paid for this place $190,000 down 7 years of what you called hobby. I slide it across the magazine clipping tucked inside an early feature from a local bridal blog praising the authenticity of my mock-ups. Mom leans in despite herself tracing a watercolor of the villa's lake view, Julian and me blurred in the foreground, laughing under string lights. Her finger stills, eyes lingering on his arm around my waist, a partnership they've never acknowledged. Sensibilities. I press, voice steady as the downpour outside. You mean the jealousy you invented? The drama you scripted, so I'd stay small. Aunt Carol snorts, but Mom's silence stretches a crack in the facade. My phone buzzes on the side table, a text from Rachel. Heard the date swap doesn't add up. Uncle David's asking questions too. Carol's story's fraying. The family web quivers, threads pulling loose as doubts seep in. Empowerment surges, then quiet as the rains hush, washing away the girl who hunched under their gaze. I close the portfolio with a soft snap. Haley's day sounds perfect for her. Mine isn't competition, it's completion. For me. Aunt Carol grabs her umbrella, storming toward the door. You'll regret this. Sides will be chosen. Mom rises slower, face ashen, but her hand brushes mine, a fleeting touch, almost apology. They leave in a swirl of wet coats, the door clicking shut like a full stop. Alone, the condo exhales rain, easing to a murmur. I text Julian, held the line. His reply pings instant proud. See you soon. No permission sought, no script followed. Just me living true. 8 weeks after the villa vows sealed my quiet revolution, I'm back in Denver's embrace. The autumn leaves carpeting the streets in fiery reds that mirror the glow still warming my chest as Julian and I unpack boxes in our new shared loft overlooking the Platte, smaller than my condo, but brimming with light and the easy rhythm of 2 lives weaving without apology. The day itself replays in fragments vivid as a well-edited reel, May 15th dawning crisp over Aspen's lake mist, rising like incense from the water as our 18 gathered on the villa's terracotta terrace. Marina orchestrated the logistics with her trademark flair, Thomas's Western Slope Pinot flowing into amber glasses, Gianna's market-fresh peonies nodding in twine-tied clusters against the sage linen. Julian stood steady at my side, his vows murmured low against my ear, a promise etched in the salt of shared storms. No orchestra, just fleet foxes drifting from hidden speakers. No 200 guests, but Rachel's tentative hug. Uncle David's gruff proud of you kid cracks in the family facade blooming like the wild columbines I'd pressed into our programs. Laughter rippled free, unscripted Marina toasting to chosen roots, her camera capturing the sunset's gold on our joined hands. Intimate, alive, the kind of joy that doesn't shout, but settles deep, a hearth fire against winter's bite. The viral spark ignited days later, Marina's photos hitting her feed with a simple caption, authenticity over extravagance. By evening, 80,000 likes cascaded in strangers commenting, "This is what love looks like." Real rooted shares rippling to Ever After magazine's editors who messaged at dawn, "Feature us. Your designer's touch redefines intimate." Rocky Mountain Bridal Review followed, requesting an interview on quiet celebrations in the peaks. I scrolled the notifications from our loft's window seat, the city's pulse thrumming below, a laugh bubbling unbidden as the numbers climbed. Validation not from blood, but from the world's wide gaze, proof that my lines, my layers resonated beyond the shadows they'd cast. The business boom chased it like thunder, inboxes flooding with queries from mid-size brands, eco-resorts needing sage-infused logos, wineries craving hand-lettered labels. Gigs tripled overnight, my calendar a mosaic of Zooms and site visits, the loft's spare room morphing into a studio where sketches piled like treasures. No more scraping for scraps. This was harvest reaped from soil I'd tilled alone. Then the letter arrives, cream envelope, in Aunt Carol's looping script slipped under the door like a summons from a bygone court. Inside, terse demands to pull the features out of respect for Haley's privacy during this delicate time. Your event has caused enough stir. Delicate, as if her $120,000 spectacle hadn't steamrolled mine first. I read it at the kitchen island, Julian's hand on my shoulder, then fold it neat as a refusal. From my studio shelf, I pull a fresh portfolio, copy pages of the villa's glow, my designs woven through, and tuck in a note penned in steady script. I'm not competing. I'm completing. Mailed back that afternoon, no return address, just the quiet dispatch of closure. Marina's call comes midweek, voice electric. Showcase locked, restored estate outside Seattle, 30 designers you headlining. Themes, reimagined roots. Your story fits like a glove. The event unfolds 2 weeks later, high-ceilinged halls aglow with lanterns, my booth, a focal point of botanical prints and villa vignettes. At the reception, glasses clink as she toasts, to writing ourselves into lives worth the ink. Applause swells, strangers clustering to trace my sketches, their nods a balm deeper than any family feast. The doorbell rings as leaves skitter outside. Julian, answering to reveal Aunt Carol, stiff in her wool coat, Haley trailing hesitant behind her post-wedding glow, dimmed ring glinting less triumphantly. "This necessary," Carol blurts, eyes raking the loft's walls, portfolio prints framed proud. The magazines, the showcase twisting, everything. I meet their gaze from the window seat, calm as lake still water. Necessary for me. This isn't about you, it's me, finally. Haley shifts, a flicker of something regret in her eyes, but Carol huffs, turning on her heel. They leave without another word, the doors click, a final echo. Later, as Julian pulls me close on the sofa, city lights winking approval, freedom unfurls inside, not loud but vast, an inner horizon without their map. validated by voices I chose unbound by the ones that clipped my wings. The journal closes for good, its pages a relic of the girl who waited. Now I bloom on my terms. But as the night deepens, a whisper lingers. Does healing demand both sides step into the light? Or is the kindest path sometimes tending your own garden, letting theirs overgrow in peace?